Well, salutations, everybody. Welcome on in for a very special episode of Movie Buffed.
Hello.
Cheers, Daniel. So today is a special day. It is our Oscars special for Movie Buffed,
Yep.
as thrown together by you, Dan. This was a seed of your idea, a very clever idea. I'm very excited about it now.
Yeah.
In our long string of podcasts this week, we're over the halfway point now. Earlier this week, if you did miss it, starting on Monday, we did do a show priority. Myself and Ken Chen talked about ESL Katowice. Is that it?
Katowice?
Katowice?
Kevin probably knows.
I haven't said it right yet. And Kevin knows.
Yeah, Kevin knows.
And then Tuesday, we went on to do a awesome interview with Sheever on our Hot Cock show.
That was great. That was great, by the way. I got to go back and watch a lot of that. That was nice.
Be sure to go check them out on our BTS podcast network if you did miss it. Today we have the Oscar special, and then tomorrow we will conclude this long week of podcasts by doing our new traditional patch countdown show.
It's a nice celebration, though, to cap off the week.
It is. Every 2 weeks, the mighty frog in the sky above releases a new small dish of patch that we get to feast upon and talk about. But we don't know when the hell it's going to be coming out, so we decided let's just host the waiting room, and we'll all wait together till it comes out, and then we'll talk about it once it does come out. Should be a good time. But Dan, today is a special day because it's Oscar season. I think I just read that yesterday the ballots were due.
Oh, is that
the
true?
Movies, like 20 hours ago or something like that. Maybe within the past day or so, the ballots were due. So things are getting serious. When are the Oscars?
They're this weekend, right? I think. I actually don't know. I feel like an ass now. Okay, I think they're Sunday. So it's an interesting award season in general because it feels really, really long. And that's because the Olympics just got slapped down in the middle. Usually, it's not that case. I think usually the Oscars come a little earlier or it doesn't feel so long-winded, but it feels like we've just been in award season for 3 years. I think the one before this was the BAFTAs, which is the British version. And a lot of people, I know Phil really looks at the results of old award shows to kind of figure out what's going on at this. So maybe we'll get some of that. But I'm excited. We got to bring out the fancy stemware. Okay.
Sponsored by Zyori.
Yeah, thank you, Zyori, for these.
If you want
wonderful
them back,
gift.
if you want them back, you can message us. But you left them here.
I'm not giving these back, dude. These are great.
But I could scratch your name out and say we never knew they were here in the first place.
I got to dress up. Hold on, let me... Look at this. Look at this thing. I'm feeling very nice. The whole point of this was that I got to wear a suit, you know?
Yeah, you look like a homeless waiter. So it's a tracksuit tuxedo.
Yeah, Danica hooked it up. I don't know. I'm probably going to wear this out to dinner tonight just to keep the flow going.
She said it's from a place that's what they make. Tracksudo?
Yeah, it's like tracksudo.com or something.
I was expecting it's a tracksuit website with a bunch of different outfits, but it sounds like all they do is we do tuxedos, tracksuits only.
No, they had to do other ones,
White,
right?
black, blue.
No, I want to check them out. Yeah, there's pants. I'm not wearing them because it's too cold. Okay, but let's. We have a special guest today that I'm so excited because he's one of the guys that when we first started this, we said we're gonna have to get Phil on here.
We have to get an expert.
Yeah.
And this guy talks about movies a lot, thus expert.
Yeah. So you guys might know him as the manager and one of the big boys at EG. We know him as the movie critic. It's Phil. We're going to have Phil here today. Hey, Phil.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Phil. Thanks for dressing up. Thanks for joining us on this very special occasion of the Oscars here.
So, Phil, a lot of people know this already, but you have a blog. It's a Letterboxd, which is like a movie review site where you can share stuff with fans. I was wondering, how do you start doing that, and why did you just start writing movie reviews? Where did that come from?
Yeah, predates my time in esports, actually. It's actually part of how I got into esports. When I was in college, I ran a film blog, I think it was a Tumblr. I'm almost ashamed to admit now, but it was
That's
2009 when I was in college, and I ran a film blog. I got recruited to write for a film website. The film website eventually spun out. The film website got spun out into a general pop culture website. It's now what culture, which you'll find a million clickbait articles on. Didn't used to be that, but they recruited me to write about other stuff, and I wrote an article about Dota because they needed something for video games, and that was in the months before Dota 2 got announced, and just kind of that article brought me towards ESFI and Dota, which led me down the esports track. And ever since I got doing that, I've just been trying to keep up with the film side, the thing that kind of has always been my passion. So I do it not really for other people. I was kind of surprised that other people in esports actually read my reviews or pay attention to my Twitter. I kind of think of it for myself to just keep in touch with like thinking about movies. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
Bill, if you just suddenly inherited or just were incredibly well off and didn't need to worry about work at all, do you think you would still just write about movies and watch movies?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely put a theater in my house, you know, like one of those ones you see in cribs.
Yeah.
Get one of those going. Probably watch a lot of movies. But yeah, I like writing about movies. It helps me process what I watched and think about things more critically. So
I do feel like that is, when I read your reviews, it doesn't feel like you're talking to an audience. It's like you're walking through what you just saw in your head and just verbalizing that and putting it onto paper. There's like no pandering, there's no weird stuff. And I believe that's why people like it, because it just feels like, this is what I saw, this is what I thought, this is what I'm thinking about now. But that's really cool that the movie stuff brought you to Dota, and now Dota is bringing you back to the movie stuff, and it's all full circle. So another thing I wanted to talk about with you really quick, because we also like to talk about other shows we're watching around here.
Oh, yeah.
And before we get in the Oscars, I got to poke you about it, because I saw you tweeting about it, and me and Dakota have been talking about it a lot. Queer Eye.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Great show, right? This show is awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
Do you like it? Tell me your thoughts on Queer Eye.
Yeah, well, my girlfriend, we have a Netflix account, and she just like spams Netflix shows 24/7. And so she started watching Queer Eye, and I was making dinner and just catching on. And usually I don't pay attention to whoever she's watching, but Queer Eye actually like got cut up and sat down. I don't know. I love what they're doing. Like, they recast it with like the best like 5 people ever, right? They're just like, they're all so likable.
The new Fab Five is awesome.
Yeah.
I think did you watch the old one?
I've seen the old one. I wasn't like a big watcher. We were like a little younger back then, but I'm aware of it. I watched a little bit back in the day. But yeah, I actually, I don't know if you looked back and checked about the old one, but I couldn't remember it that much. It's like, group is totally different, right? 5 different people. They like don't have any of the kind of like, just like natural fit. When I started watching, I thought that it was the same group because they seemed like they knew each other so well and like got along so well. But
yeah, that's what's crazy about this show is the guys are so much fun together, and it feels like you said, like, this has been going on for a long time and we're suddenly jumping in the middle, but it just started. And I don't know about you, but what got me hooked into the show is at the end of every episode, I'm fucking bawling. Like, I cried so much watching that show, and it's so unexpected because it's like, it goes from being like campy, fun, silly, almost over the top and kind of staged moments to like, this is some real shit, and you're going to watch this and think about your life now, get ready to cry.
Yeah, it's great. It's so funny because I think Phil was one of the first people I saw online murmur, like, this show's pretty good. And I saw someone else say something about it. And then you were in Chicago and you said you watched it.
Yeah.
And then Amanda had it up on the TV, much similar to how Phil said he got into it. And I'm very curious how many dudes happened to peep into the show because they had a lady in the room with the show already up. Yeah. And they're like, what are you watching here?
I made my girlfriend watch it. It was the opposite.
So I was like, is this that Queer Eye show? Because I noticed that the dudes are totally different as well. And yeah, I don't know. I couldn't look away. Very captivating. One guy was like, I'm like, he seems a bit much. Funny man.
The long-haired guy?
But soon you kind of just are.
I like Tan. I like he's either Indian or Pakistani. I can't remember.
The hair guy?
He's Pakistani.
He's Pakistani.
The guy with the hair?
Yeah.
Oh, that
he's
hair
got gorgeous hair.
Amazing hair.
He's like British or some shit. Like he's got an accent or something.
Yeah.
He's fucking amazing.
Amanda loves him too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Who's your favorite, Phil?
I forget the name. I like the cook. I don't know why, but he just like.
Yeah, me too.
He seems like the boy next door.
He is. He's got that boyish charm, but I don't know. He just like he just empathizes with people really well, whatever case. He just seems really like he just kind of gets people, in that like fundamental.
He's got like an A name. I don't remember what it is, and he's interesting to me because I feel like his section of the show is the weakest. He's like, I'm gonna show you how to make guacamole, and you're like, is that really? Are you really teaching somebody anything that interesting? But what it actually boils down to, when I realize, is all the shit like, oh, I'm your culture coach, I'm your, cook. That is not what it's about. It is about getting these guys who are like super, like you said, empathetic, very good at talking, to have these one-on-ones with the characters on the show. And that's like the big moments and the important parts, not like how to slice an avocado.
Yeah. Make a hot
Yeah, they
dog.
definitely use they definitely make Cook guys sit down and like do more one-on-ones because making the hot dog episode, it's got some pretty pretty weak elements.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil. There's a lot of very powerful elements to that show as well, where people are doing like life-changing moments for themselves and such. I don't want to spoil it, but a lot of good stuff.
Go watch it.
Only a couple of episodes. It's only first season of this new edition, I guess, but like 8 episodes or something. So
it'll come back for sure. This is like a new little hit sensation thing going on. Okay, I just want to talk about that. I think people should watch it. It is not maybe what you expect. I think you'll be so pleasantly surprised at really how fun the show is, and the range of emotions you will experience watching it.
Yeah, and it's on Netflix, so it feels higher production value. I feel like I'm always watching something relevant. It's not like they're going to slide in some sly, sell out for another show on the network or something like that.
No.
I don't know. It feels very professional. It's cool.
Yeah, no weird like spinning lower third bumpers always coming through.
Yeah.
Okay, from there, let's just transition to the Oscars, Phil.
Woo.
I know you pay attention to all the awards way more than I do. We had a short Twitter DM conversation about, why you think some picks are some ways. And you're basing it off like real science and like some smart shit. So I wonder what you think about award season in general and award shows in general, especially because in esports, it's kind of like starting to pick up that we're getting these award shows and a lot more companies are like pitching to do them. And I wonder how you find value in award shows and which ones you like and which ones you don't.
Yeah, I think award shows are pretty awful as a general rule.
Yep.
I would say they don't really. I don't think they very often capture what was actually the most important or most meaningful film of a year, unless there was some like outside pressure that kind of came in and overwhelmed the film industry. I think I enjoy the award show circuit. I care a lot about movies, so it's fun to track along a little bit and watch that kind of develop. And it's fun to see sometimes really good films get elevated through the award show that wouldn't otherwise. A lot of times movies that aren't very worthy get elevated through award shows, but it's just like a fun thing to get along with. I do enjoy a little bit of gambling, and so kind of the award show betting and how that goes is a little fun to track as well. But no, generally speaking, award shows are pretty bad. The best one, I think the Golden Globes is the best award show because everybody's like sloshed and that you get really good reactions, but not because of the awards. Which I don't know if you know anything about the Golden Globes, but it's like 12 people from like Istanbul voting on that. It's the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. It's not even film people. It's just the Foreign Press Association that is located in Hollywood. They're all like international. They're not in the movie industry at all. And they basically started an award show like 30 years ago to try and get rich, wealthy people to show up and like kibitz with them. And now they basically just sell their awards for favors. If you take them out and treat them nice, they'll give you awards.
Dropping knowledge, Phil. I didn't know that.
That's cool. That's probably why I also hear a lot like I don't know if you guys agree, but they're only starting to really allow opportunities for like comic movies and horror movies and such to try to be able to reach those kind of levels, whereas maybe Golden Globes were more into like, this comedy acting performance or this comedy or this comic movie, taking more adventurous choices with some of the movies instead of keeping it like it needs to be a drama, a serious acting achievement.
I think as the industry grows, it's interesting to see how awards react to it, whether it's like stuff like recognizing VFX, or how the Oscars themselves split the sound category, which is different than like what the BAFTAs do. It's like weird, and now is it like are we going to see like a superhero category? Are we going to see a comic book category? It starts to get really crazy as soon as you like, and that's why you have films like Get Out being put into categories they don't necessarily feel like they belong. Like Get Out in the Golden Globes was in a lot of like comedy categories, and that feels funny, but it's got to go somewhere. But what do you do? Like, there's no horror category. There's no like whatever that is.
What do you think, Phil? Do you think it's like a matter of in the future they might open the door for more categories expanding, or do you think they're just going to open the idea of bringing those kind of movies more into the realm of possibility?
I think that the best trend in award shows over the last 10 or 15 years was when the Oscars opened up Best Picture to go up to 10 possible candidates. It used to be 5 flat, and now it's anywhere from 5 to 10, right, based on the voting and how many people hit X thresholds. I think that was a big change because you used to get basically like 2 or 3 real Oscar nominees and a couple of like Oscar bait movies in your best 5, and then 3 to 5 like really credible movies that probably deserve recognition for that would end up getting on the outside. And now the way it is set up, you basically get all the movies that you really want to see make it in there, which I think is pretty important. I don't know if I'm a fan of the like more types of categories. I think your best animated feature is probably a pretty good example of a category that probably does more harm than good. It's like dominated by one studio. Some years, if there isn't a like great entry from that studio, then like from Pixar folks, then it's just like some really like crummy film making it and winning. The Boss Baby is nominated this year.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I was going to talk about more when we got to that category, but it makes you like ask the question, like, so what is the best animated? Is it would they be judging the movie itself for how good it is and it happens to be animated, or the animation in the movie is really good? Because apparently Boss Baby, I don't know if you guys saw it, I didn't see it, but rumor has it that it does have some crazy animations in it, or trippy animations, and maybe that's why it could possibly be thrown into the category. I don't know the credentials of this category though and how it works though.
I feel like every category is a mix of like a couple of things. It's technical, kind of like what they did with technology, how they introduced that into the film, whether it's like from cinematography to costume design, whatever. You bring that in, style, expression, the big picture, what it means, the cultural impact it has. I think there's a lot of things that go into all these, even into something as an animated film. So that's what makes it really complicated and hard to say. But with animated, usually it's like, yeah, there's one standout that is actually trying to do something more than make like poop jokes about a baby mobster,
Boss Baby. Did anyone see Boss Baby here?
I didn't see Boss Baby.
No? Okay.
So yeah. So I want to start jumping into these categories. Here's what we're going to do, Phil. We're going to just jump in. We're going to go from bottom to the top through the main contender categories. I think there's some we're just going to end up skipping because I haven't seen everything.
Phil, I bet you've seen more movies on here than we have. Like last night, we didn't get to talk about it yet, but last night we I feel like I need to see something else. So we just jumped into Lady Bird and I gotta watch something. So we watched Lady Bird just to get one more under our belt before coming in. But I'm sure you're gonna have to help fill us in on maybe some of these movies where I've just now seen the trailer and I'm curious if it's worth all the praise maybe that's coming its way.
Yeah. So what I want to do is jump in. We're gonna go through them, and then each of us can kind of give our piece on where we feel. You can also just defer, okay?
Wonderful.
If you have no fucking clue.
Wonderful.
All right, so we're going to start with visual effects.
Boom, okay. I'm in for this
Here
one.
we go, visual effects.
I mean, I can see the first one here, and I imagine that is a movie that's going to get...
Let me say what the fuck the movie is.
I'm sorry, dude. You go. You're the new host here, man.
Wait, and the nominees are...
Yeah, and the nominees are Blade Runner 2049. I'm not going to say all the names associated with it. Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. Kong, Skull Island. Star Wars, The Last Jedi. War for the Planet of the Apes. And that's them. That's everything. And by the way, I feel like visual effects has become what's the best like blockbuster movie nowadays. I don't know if you feel like that, Phil, but it feels like...
What it seems like, and I don't mean to step on your toes there, and a note I was going to bring up as we were talking about awards shows in general, something I read is where people were watching the Grammys this year, it really felt like a lot of parallels are maybe between highest record sales and became the best song or whatever, whereas in movie award ceremony shows, these would probably be the movies in that case that would be at the top, Guardians for Best Picture, Thor Best Picture or whatever. So it's nice that there's at least some distinction in movie award shows, that they're not just going to trend with what's selling in the box office, I guess. So on that note of what you're saying is this might be the box office award category then in that case. This is where we're going to be seeing most of our comic and superhero movies for a while if they're not going to get their own category.
Yeah. Where are you at on the visual effects, Phil?
Yeah. Well, a comment on that. I think, it certainly, it tends to be the blockbusters, so I can see where you think that. With most of these categories that are not the high categories, the top ones, basically all the side categories, you're only voting on it in the Academy if you are a member of that actual field. So the visual effects category we voted on by all of the visual effects supervisors and folks like that. So I think
all
that
their
those
peers.
people, they're peers. I tend to think that it's not quite that. Usually, I would say, the best blockbuster of the year probably has really good visual effects, so it kind of will carry the day because you don't want to vote for, Kong Skull Island, really, right?
Yeah.
But this is an interesting category. I think there's like three like high caliber options in this. I'd say Blade Runner, Star Wars, and War for the Planet of the Apes are all reasonable choices.
Yeah.
I think Blade Runner is the front runner, probably going to win, but I'm not sure if it's the best visual effects of any movie. I'm kind of torn. I think it's the best cinematography winner, probably.
Easy.
But I don't know. For visual effects, I still think the best visual effects scene of the year was the Star Wars Lightspeed jump.
Really? The hyper jump where she crashed into the other ships?
Yeah.
That's like an extremely striking visual for me. And when I look at these, my top 3 are the exact as yours. It's Blade Runner, Star Wars, Planet of the Apes. And I think about a lot of times certain scenes that stand out, and it's like that's what pushes it over the edge to being something super special. And I just wanted to touch on those. With Blade Runner, for me, it is totally the sex scene.
Yeah.
That is like one of those things that you see, and it is so mind-boggling and interesting and draws you in, and you can't even really figure it out. And I think as a visual effects artist, you're trying to do something that is blowing people's mind, and they can't figure out how it's done, and they just get over it, and then they're just enjoying that moment. And it does a really tremendous job of doing that. In War of the Planet of the Apes, I feel like it's just the technical achievement of being able to bring these characters to life with motion capture, with all these different types of motion capture artists working together, all this facial stuff going on. Like it's crazy. They're like recognizing that series is really pushing that technology further than anybody else. But for me though, with Star Wars, it feels like it's interesting that you brought up that scene, because I couldn't really think of a scene. I just think there's so much shit going on in that movie that you have to almost just give it you did a lot of shit,
That was a lot of money and a lot of time, I'm sure. So yeah. Unfortunately, of those big 3, I've only seen Blade Runner, and if you didn't talk about it, I was going to, of course, say that love scene was huge, and the giant billboard girl and all those effects was quite insane. Did not see Star Wars or Planet of the Apes, but Groot is cool looking. So
Groot, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is the same way. I love about Guardians of the Galaxy is all the colors.
Yeah.
All right, wait. So where was the award? What are they giving these? So, all right, we're gonna look at that list. I sent you that. All right, so Blade Runner far and above the standout here. If you're betting, wow. Okay, Blade Runner, Planet of the Apes, Star Wars is how they have it on this little list that we have.
And it's like Blade Runner's up here, and then wait a while. Finally, there's Planet of the Apes, Star Wars, Guardians. So they have it way out in front for this one.
All right, so I think let's put our official bid down for our movie buff pick. I think we have to go with Blade Runner. Do you guys agree?
I would agree.
Agreed.
Okay. Kevin, can I be a total dick and ask you to keep track of our picks?
Thanks,
I'm
Kevin.
sorry. Thank you very much. So we're going with Blade Runner. All right, let's move on to the next one. Costume design. You guys into this? I think I have a little bit to talk about this. You into this, Phil?
I've seen some of these.
Yeah, I'm in for costume design.
Do you feel like these technical categories, because what a lot of people don't know is the night before, there's a whole nother Oscars that's completely all technical stuff. And then some of those top tier ones make it into the main event. Do you feel like that those people are getting enough recognition or too much? Like, do you care as a casual observer, or you yourself, Phil, about all these kind of behind the scenes people getting more attention?
Yeah, I think that they're good ways to help highlight films. I think a lot of times, if you win the costume design award, you think Elizabeth or some movies like that in the past that were very costume heavy, and
period
it kind of can be a selling point. Yeah, period pieces a lot of times they can be selling points of the movie, I guess. So it's helpful there. I kind of think of them as stat sheet stuff rewards, though, generally, where if you come into Oscar night and there's somebody you're really rooting for who you want to have a big night, you're really hoping to see them start racking up the early awards, filling that stat sheet in the first quarter so they can go for the double digits or something
double play in the late quarter after they get a good initial
but you gotta have them there.
I feel like a lot of times too, not that they're like freebies or like a gift bag, but it feels like when a movie is really respected by people and loved for whatever reason, they find a reason to get it another award because they know it's actually not going to get those big ones. Like you're saying, like there's some that are just so powerful and they just come and sweep through and grab all these, and there's some that they're just giving away because we have to recognize this some way. So okay, let's find this point. Here's a selling point, like you said. But okay, costume design, really quickly.
Yeah, I feel like these people do deserve the recognition though, because for some of the stuff in this category, I imagine it's fully custom, that piece. Maybe they made 100 of the same costume and stuff. It's just so much endless amounts of work. Anyways,
I agree. As somebody who's in production, like, I feel like you have to recognize the massive amount of work all these extra people are putting in, like hundreds of people that are doing this stuff, and just if you ignore that, it's really ignoring a huge part of the art form that is elevating the film you're watching to the place where it is. So let's look at these, and yeah, when we look at the list, it's period pieces, it's things that seem like kind of obvious. Costume design, we have Beauty and the Beast, Darkest Hour, Phantom Thread, The Shape of Water, and Victoria and Abdul, which I do not know that movie at all, so I'm not going to speak about it.
No, I actually don't know that either. We did see Shape of Water together, of course. And then I've looked into the other three movies, Phantom Thread, Darkest Hour, and have not seen Beauty and the Beast, unfortunately. But I know Phantom Thread and Darkest Hour are probably heavily themed around like period pieces and being authentic to the time. I'm sure is a challenging one in itself. Or even just dressing up in for not Phantom Thread, for Darkest Hour, dressing up oh god, why is his name?
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
You're getting ahead of us, though. That's makeup and hair.
Oh, that's makeup and hair? Oh, God, there's so many fun little categories.
That's what I was wondering. I feel like Darkest Hour, I mean, I feel like just because it's a period piece, it's in here, but it doesn't, there's no way it's going to do anything. I'm saying Phantom Thread for this. I think it's by far the standout.
Because of the namesake?
I think we lost Phil.
Hello?
Oh, hi. Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Phantom Thread is probably the presumptive winner here. I think it's the best one as well. I mean, it's a movie about costumes or like high-end garments, and there's a lot of focus on the artistry and craft there. I think Shape of Water is if you wanted to take a dark horse, like a nice payout gamble, I think Shape of Water is like a reasonable second choice. They had a lot to do with color in that movie in particular, where obviously you have the design of the creature itself, which is potentially somewhere between costume design and visual effects. But you also have a lot with like what colors people wear and the use of like color in their dress for how they define their characters, which is like probably a more astute use of costuming than most movies that came out this year.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro in all his movies, if like go back and watch Hellboy, the obsession with like color in every one of the scenes and how it reacts to the backgrounds to the characters and what they're wearing. He's very graphical with it. Like Shape of Water is very blue and green, and it's like all this whole aquatic experience. But those colors will change based on what the character's going through. I don't think he can do it just because Phantom Thread is such a standout in this. I'm going to check what this...
Do you guys know if Victoria and Abdul or whatever, maybe she was wearing a huge Cinderella gown that we might have missed?
No. And that one's just... Those are just three... I mean, Darkest Hour, Beauty and the Beast, and Victoria and Abdul are just three generic throw-ins, I think.
It totally is. Like, Beauty and the Beast especially. It's like... It's almost because Belle's dress is so iconic that when they made it in real life and did it well, they had to recognize that, but... I don't know.
There's definitely some nominees in this category because the nominees are still by people in that field, right? So you probably have they're all in like each other's DMs, and someone from Beauty and the Beast is probably like, goddamn, I had to make 500 dresses for this stupid thing. Like, you better nominate me, right?
I didn't see the movie. Did they have to make like the utensils? Like, are
Which
the
one?
utensils costumes in Beauty and the Beast? The live action?
No, they're like CGI stuff.
Oh, they're CGI? Okay. I didn't see it at all, so I'm like, did they have to costume the candle?
It's like Emma Watson, the guy from what's that British TV show? I know you watch this shit, Phil. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't watch British TV.
You don't watch? Oh man, okay.
My girlfriend does.
Borat?
No,
She's
whatever. Okay, let's move on.
Wait, who are we gonna pick for this? We got
Phantom Thread, bro.
Oh, Phantom Thread. Yeah,
Phantom Thread.
Yeah, I'm with you. I haven't
win.
seen it, but if the movie's about costuming, I mean, you don't give them the award. Sounds like a crime.
It's wait, who is it again? It's
or Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah,
is it?
yeah.
Yeah. Also,
Which I loved it.
Daniel Day-Lewis, Oscar bait itself. He the man himself.
We'll talk about him a bit later, man.
There's no bait there.
All right, Kevin. So we're taking Phantom Thread for costume design. Thank you so much. Moving on to makeup and hair. Only 3 this year. We have Darkest Hour, Victoria and Abdul, and Wonder. I don't know the other 2 movies. I almost want to look them up.
So I guess this is what you were talking about before. This would apply more to them having to actually work on Gary Oldman.
Making him Churchill.
To make him look like Churchill. And again, I didn't see the movie. I poked through the trailer even as recent as last night, and definitely seems to be giving a mega powerful performance. I was trying to look and see is this fooling me at all? It's good, but I don't know. I still look at it and I'm like, kind of looks like a fake fat guy to me.
Really?
Am I bad? I don't know. I'm he kind of looks weird to me. I don't know if we're that good yet at making someone who's not big.
There, Kevin, I have a picture of the Gary Oldman himself.
I don't know.
And then so there he is. Here's Churchill, and then there's Gary Oldman. Excuse me, that's Gary Oldman, and then
it's impressive.
It's pretty
very
fucking cool.
It's very impressive, but I don't know. Something about it just makes me still say I don't know. Maybe with the mouth.
The mouth is always weird because it feels like it's
maybe
flapping.
That's how Churchill was, and I'm just I didn't really notice and stuff. But some of them I look like a fat guy. It's I don't know. I feel like a child for saying that, but that's how I feel. But it's a hell of an achievement to try to pull off. You're mimicking someone real, and you're taking someone very different than what your subject is. Your subject is very different than what you're trying to achieve. So this is just, and I'm sure he had to go through such a crazy process. The makeup artist had to go through such a crazy process to be able to get them to this point.
His hair is incredible.
Yeah,
His
that's true.
Forehead
too.
is incredible.
Yeah.
I remember when they first put the stills out of him. It was this series of photographs, and I was blown away because it was wow. All right, he's going all in, and he's a guy who plays a lot of crazy characters and is known for kind of going above and beyond with dressing up and all the exactly. So I was into this. This is my standout, but
yeah, I didn't see the other 2.
I don't know the
either,
other 2,
so I feel like this one feels really good. Phil, I would love to hear your opinion.
I think this one's pretty much off the books in Vegas. I don't think there's even money going in on anything else.
Oh, really?
I mean, you can probably find a place to bet on it, but I think it's probably the longest odds of everything. There's no one that's going to challenge Darkest Hour. Victoria and Abdul whatever period piece. There isn't any really makeup involved outside of just your normal. And Wonder's a kid who has a facial disfiguration.
Oh, okay.
He looks like he's got light makeup on compared to Gary Oldman. So.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, because I didn't see the other 2, I do have Wonder, but I've yet to watch it. That it doesn't sound
you have Wonder.
Nearly as much of a milestone as what I'm seeing Gary Oldman have to go through.
All right, we're gonna take Darkest Hour for makeup and hair, Kevin. Thank you very much.
Feels pretty unanimous on that one.
All right,
cool.
Now we have. I feel like every time you get into the sound category, it starts getting a little funky because there's so many. Now we have best original score, best original song. Next 2 categories here. Phil, do you feel like there's too many sound categories? Later, we're going to come into sound editing and sound mixing. I know you said you weren't a fan of having so many, but what do you feel about sound as it's addressed in the Oscars?
I mean, I think original song is one of those incredibly weak categories that there's only a legit winner once every 4 or 5 years, because usually there's just a kind of weak cadre of songs. I think this year Remember Me is probably the favorite. It's most likely going to win. And that's it's a nice song from an okay Pixar movie, but is it really the best we got?
Okay, so I'm 100% with that. I feel like original song doesn't ever really feel that original. I get it. It's you bring in a big artist to do a big track that's going to be your single for the movie, basically, right? It's you're making an album, you need a single. But for me, when I think about film, I think about film scores, original soundtracks. I'm going to the score category more, and I do feel like original song is something that is almost there more for the performance at the Oscars itself than actually being something worthy of having a category.
Has an original song, has an Oscar-winning original song ever also been #1 on the Billboard charts?
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Titanic, right? That's got to be.
Oh shit, yeah, that's probably one of
I
the
Will
best
Go
examples
On.
you can make right there. Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Okay.
I wonder if did the song from Fast and Furious 7, did that one win?
I don't remember. I was trying to remember.
Will I see you
Yeah.
again? That one?
That's the
I
one.
mean, that is a pretty
Yeah.
damn iconic song to the movie.
It was
sure.
nominated.
It was definitely nominated. I always think about when I think about original song is Blame Canada. Like, you know, and
From South Park movie?
yeah, and
That's
Robin
incredible.
Williams had his performance, and it was like this ridiculous marching band with him at the front singing Blame Canada. And it's like, what really is this category? What is going on? But yeah, it's often a lot of, like top 40 pop stuff that ends up being original song categories.
That's cool. Okay.
I'm down
interesting.
with going for Coco just because at least Coco is a movie that is focused around music in many ways, as most Pixar films have kind of a centralized theme of that, and this song is.
Well, did you guys see Greatest Showman at all? I think that's like a showy musical kind of movie. Hugh
It
Jackman's in it as well, right?
Yes.
I don't know if this is a song he sings in it, but I figured, of these categories, this movie should make some appearances.
That's interesting.
I know Hugh Jackman to be a big Broadway musical performer. He's done many shows, so I'm curious if this movie, doesn't win much in the music and song categories. I don't know. Is it worth seeing? Did you see it, Phil?
I did not see it. I'm patently offended by the notion of The Greatest Showman. As a side tangent here, I think this is the only time we're going to see Greatest Showman. This is a movie about, is it like Barnum and Bailey, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like P.T.
Ridley
Barnum.
Brothers, yeah.
It is like the concept of the movie is like this like millennial, like I'm like the social justice warrior of the esports scene, right? And they basically pitch P.T. Barnum as a social justice warrior of like turn of the century. Guy literally like went around, rounded up people with disfigurations and marketed them as freaks to millions of people. And they're like, you found a family. And that's like the concept of that movie. I don't know. It actually like slays me.
But was there good music and sound about were the freaks singing?
But how was the dancing? No, I agree with that, Phil. I feel like the whole idea of the movie is very strange. And I'm a guy, as we know from our Office Wolf, I'm a circus guy. No, I'm a circus guy.
Yeah, okay.
I like circuses for all the fucked up things they represent. I grew up going to the circus a lot as a kid. And I was excited when I heard about this movie. And then, like you, when I heard what it was about, I was like, this doesn't seem like it has to do with anything, and you're just like forcing a modern narrative into a famous character and then presenting it in a way to try to I don't know, get us excited in the way that Chicago kind of got people excited almost. It feels like that same kind of play, but I'm not into it. I haven't seen all these. I didn't see Mudbound, which makes me feel bad because I've heard
me too.
just great things about it. Have you seen that, Phil?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. I'm down with Coco. What are odds on our little sheet here?
This is score.
Remember Me and This Is Me are both reasonable bets. I think Coco's like pretty odds-on favorite. I imagine a lot of folks in the Academy probably just like didn't watch their Greatest Showman screeners, so that's probably it's like the number one knock against it.
It's the only thing it was nominated for, I think, correct? I think so. Yeah, all right. I am fine with that. It is the odds-on favorite, so we can run with that. Remember Me.
Remember Me. I actually don't know the song.
I don't know.
Remember Me. No,
Okay.
it's Remember
Is it sad?
Me.
Did you cry at Coco?
Did you
It's
cry
a
at
little
Coco?
somber. No, I was pretty mixed on Coco, honestly. It was
Really?
okay, but I thought it was like really pretty, but I don't know. It was just kind of like okay Pixar for me.
Oh, Danica will kill you.
Are you a movie crier, Phil? Do you cry during movies?
I'll well up a little bit. Not really like a baller, but I can get hit right in the.
Can you
Right
think
in
of
the
a
throat.
movie right now that if you popped it in, you're like, I'm probably gonna well up pretty good before this one's over? I'll start. Ready? Green Mile. Fucking can't.
I never seen it.
Never can make it through that one without crying. God damn it. What about you, Phil?
What about me?
What about
Oh,
you?
that's a good question.
What are you whelping up? What are you whelping up over?
I don't know. I just really good movies get me. I can't think of one at this moment, but
I think it's hard. I think
Titanic again.
it's hard to think of one. I cry all the time. I feel like movies that make me think about shit that happened in my life and connect to me, which is like what all movies are really trying to do.
Is that why you cry
You know?
during Bug's Life?
I cry.
I'm just kidding.
The fucking caterpillar, dude.
Just kidding. Go on.
No, but it's like it's not about I feel like when most people think about sad movies, they think about movies that are like over the top sad. that's the only emotion you see in the movie. For me, movies I get really emotional about and tend to cry during are movies that hit me with a giant range of emotions, and I'm being like tugged all over the place, and I feel very like off balance, and then you get hit in the feels with something, and it just like overwhelms you. But I'm also like an 11-year-old girl most of the time, so I'm pretty emotional. Best original score. I think this is way more interesting and actually a pretty competitive category, even though the odds aren't saying it so much.
I'm curious because like I mean, John Williams is like, I suppose, a legend by now. So does this man get like free passes to these kinds of awards? I don't know how often he gets snubbed from awards or not, but it's goddamn John Williams. How is this guy not going to be a front runner?
Yeah, but he's, it's like his latest take on Star Wars, right? Take number like 15 on Star Wars. It's not really the kind of thing you usually get an award for.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have felt that the most recent Star Wars in many ways was weak, and also the soundtrack. But really quick for everybody, original score nominees, and I'm going to give some of these composers names because I do think it's kind of important here. It's not just the movie, it is the composer because it plays into it more than other things. Dunkirk by the famous and most well-known Hans Zimmer. Which was just... Phantom Thread, Johnny Greenwood, Shape of Water, Alexandra Desplat, can't pronounce that name, I'm sorry. Star Wars Last Jedi, John Williams, and 3 Billboards Outside, Ebbing, Missouri, Carter Burwell. For me, I think Shape of Water has the ability to take this one.
Really?
I think that you have 2 big boys, Hans and John, and that these are not their best movies. And you have Shape of Water, which is so unique and original in so many ways. And the score of the movie is so magical and plays so well in with what's going on and is part of that experience of taking you away from this world into this fantastical Guillermo del Toro universe that is everything from every noise, every piece of costuming, everything ties in together. The color, like we talked about before. I think Shape of Water has a chance in here. It's getting my vote. Phil, I'm very interested to hear what you think.
Yeah, so for all the major categories, I went through and I did kind of a 3 or 4-way split. I did my thought of who was going to win, who I wanted to win, and who I think should win, along sometimes with what I thought was the best bet in the category in terms of value. This one is one of the ones where I split like pretty consistently. I think that. I mean, I don't know why Dunkirk is on here, honestly. Like Dunkirk, I enjoy Dunkirk a lot, but I cannot, like, Hans Zimmer scores are just like, they're just like the sound of grinding gears in the background.
Him and Nolan just sit there and jerk off and bang tin cans together in the sound recording studio, It's like, right? It's ridiculous. I feel like Dunkirk in general, though, it's because the sound is such an important part of the movie. And it is it's a character. And so they just automatically get hit in every category. But I agree. Go on.
That's fair. I think that, to me, Phantom Thread right now is third in the betting odds. I think Phantom Thread probably ought to be second, and it probably should be close between Shape of Water and Phantom Thread. Johnny Greenwood's score in Phantom Thread is like just gorgeous stuff. If you ever want, chill soundtrack to listen to while you're doing work, Phantom Thread is like the perfect kind of like rousing, like very piano heavy score. But I agree. I think Shape of Water is like the odds-on favorite, and I think is the deserving favorite for this one. I think that that score really does like make that movie what it is in a lot of ways. Kind of, you captured it right with the transporting.
I only happen to have caught Shape of Water of this full category. I like the score; it's very pleasant. Put me in the time pretty well.
Makes you feel like tapping your feet and like just you're floating away,
Yeah, but I wasn't sure about what the other ones were bringing and how to compare it. So it's interesting to hear that Shape of Water is definitely out there in the front, because I knew from when we reviewed it, we were giving a lot of praise for its sound mixing as well.
Yeah.
And like the timings on stuff, which I know they're featured in that category as well. So that's cool. I'm happy for Shape of Water. And I'm curious like how that makes, like the John Williams and stuff. Are they like, oh, we've won enough and it's good for these, ones to be able to pass it on? If they feel like it's going to light a fire under their ass, or if they're just like, I've made a shit ton of money and I don't care. But if Star Wars 8 comes around, I'm down too.
I feel like those guys are not putting their heart into those scores, and they're not going to be heartbroken if they lose. I think that Shape of Water, everybody involved in that movie put their heart into it. And I think that's a big difference maker. But I don't think they care. Do you think they care that they lose? Do you think they think they're going to win, Phil?
No, most of these guys, I think, are pretty well aware. I mean, I imagine John Williams has probably been nominated for something like, 20 or 30 Oscars by this point. He's probably pretty used to losing. Let's see. I'm trying to look. So, I mean, he already won for this score effectively because he won for Star Wars in '77. So he's probably not too bad about losing for the rehash.
You're still sampling my shit. It's fine.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
That one score got him 4 nominations or something. So not so bad.
All right. Original score, we're going with Shape of Water, which is actually the odds favorite. I didn't realize it was, but it is also, that's the Vegas favorite as well. Production design. Category I love. I love this. I feel like for me, production design often can make or break a movie. If you are not able to connect to the environment the characters are in, if it's not believable, if it's not exciting, it can make a movie feel cheap. And when a movie feels cheap, you're thinking about that and you're not thinking about what the characters are going on. So I think production design is very important and also just fucking cool. So really quickly, production design category: Beauty and the Beast, Blade Runner 2049, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, and The Shape of Water.
This one seems tough. I don't know. I haven't seen all of these movies, but for the ones on here I have seen, Blade Runner and Shape of Water, I felt like Blade Runner, I'm in some crazy post-apocalyptic future world of lights and lasers and neon and billboards of holographic women and shit like that. And then also for Shape of Water, I'm taken back in time, but hit by vibrant colors and themes and sounds. And I feel like this has got to be a monster category, right? This is a lot of competition.
It is. This is definitely I feel like for me, it's between two. It really is between Blade Runner and Shape of Water.
Okay.
And my bet would be with Shape of Water again, because I really feel like, again, so first off, Beauty and the Beast, I think, is really kind of by the numbers, and they aren't doing something original. They're just recreating something, which is, really cool in itself. Blade Runner also recreating something, but making its own. It's not the same city from the last one. It's in that universe. It is amazing. You in this movie, you look around when you're watching. You look around. You're trying to take in all the detail that they put in. You're trying to really bring it in, and it makes it feel whole. Darkest Hour, period piece, again, so there's a lot of work that goes into that to kind of set that environment and really make us feel like we're there with Churchill and in that wartime. Dunkirk, another war movie, another period piece, but for me, nothing was spectacular about the production design. It felt simple. A lot of that movie feels very simple because it's about striking visuals, not kind of over-the-top visuals. And Shape of Water, though, is just here's a whole different world you've never seen before, but also feels like One thing for me, what I feel like the Oscars, is that a lot of times they're very nostalgic. A lot of the people voting are older guys, and they do love old Hollywood. And for me, Shape of Water feels very old Hollywood from front to end. And because of that, and the way that it's all these genres almost back. It's almost like steampunk, and it's turn of the world and retrofuturism and all this shit going on. I gotta give it to Shape of Water. I mean, when I saw it, I remember being holy shit, and I know a lot of other people did too. They were like, Guillermo, please make a BioShock movie because you just made BioShock. Phil, where are you at on production design?
Yeah, again, another two-horse race. I would agree. I think it is Blade Runner and Shape of Water. For this one, I want Shape of Water to win. I think Shape of Water is going to win, but I actually think that Blade Runner 2049 probably should win on the merits. I think that it was I think that the sense of place in Shape of Water is really good. They do take you into create this new world, but I just think from a pure difficulty level, Blade Runner is 3 hours of amazing, amazingly visualized set piece after set piece, and all those almost all those are practical sets. They're not CGI backdrop sets. You have the old city with the haze going on. the even like the bar within there with the fight that happens between the two guys, to like the setting where he goes and talks to the old replicant at the beginning of the movie he has to go kill, like that, like with the farm going on there. Like all those settings are like, they're very bleak, but they're all very unique, and they do kind of update that original 80s look to be more modern but still fit the aesthetic. And I think just like every single place you go in that movie is just like wows your imagination with the kind of design. If you just like think watching through that movie again, like just going through it in my head, I keep on coming up with more, like the child labor camp, like all these places, like just like there's so many, they just like keep hitting you. And Shape of Water is remarkable in its sort of oneness of how it captures that vision, but I do think it's like a simpler thing. But I want it to win. I like that movie better than I like Blade Runner, so I'm not hurt at all with it winning.
I feel like something that is being brought up here with isn't being said is the difference of budget in these two movies is enormous. I believe it was 15 million. Was Shape of Water just like 15 million? I know it was something like ridiculously cheap to make.
20
and
million.
Pardon me?
20
million. 20 million Shape of Water, and Blade Runner is what, like 200 million? Like, when it comes down to, I feel like basically how much money did you spend on this movie to make it awesome? Like, are we rewarding that versus, what do you got?
150
million. So 150 million versus 20 million. Think about that.
It's on the screen, though. It's on the screen.
It's on the screen. You're right. I agree with that 100%, but I think it's like, it's almost unfair because they just have so much more to play with. And yeah, they're using it 3 hours, like you said. It's a huge movie. There's a ton of variety.
Yeah.
There is an incredible amount of stuff going on. You're kind of the tiebreaker vote. So Phil, you're casting for Blade Runner. I'm in Shape of Water. I think they, like we're saying, it's definitely a 2-horse race. Yeah, and it could go either way.
Such a great argument when you like, because it's like Shape of Water. They do that area so well. The work location, the lab or whatever, and
it's like the lab, the apartment.
Yeah, it's like 3 places. It feels like
in
Shape of Water. And they do them really well, and they work with the budget really well. But then you look at Blade Runner, and they created like world of different time. Shape of Water is a different time as well, but it's just like landscapes, deserted like Nevada and shit like that. I gotta go with Blade Runner. Like,
they also do a lot.
It's been so long since I've seen it. I totally forgot about the child labor, the farm, and all that stuff. It's like, there's so many different setups and settings and places to jump through. I think Blade Runner gets this one without question, in my book at least. Yeah.
I mean, are we trying to pick winners, or are we picking our our approved choices? I'm trying to understand what we're going for.
No,
here.
okay, so.
I think I am saying like that it should win. I don't know how Academy Awards work, and they're going to give it to Shape of Water because of such and such reason. But for me, at least, I'm saying like based on what was put out on the screen, I would put Blade Runner.
I think, Phil, we're trying to ultimately pick who we think is going to win. Okay. We can walk through it as like I think you do a great job of saying this is who I want to win, this is who should win, and this is who will probably win, which is crazy. Because those are they're three different movies usually, right? And that's how these kind of shows work. And I want to hear all your opinions on those. But at the end, we're gonna try to do our best job at predicting these together. And I think I'm down with Blade Runner then.
No. If it's
you're going
going to win,
back.
No. I said I think.
Yeah, he
said. I think Shape of Water I want to win, and I think will win. But I said that I think Blade Runner probably should win. So Blade Runner was my should win, but not my want or my think. So a strange and rare combination.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is not usual at all. Okay,
but I think Shape of Water will win. I think that movie has.
Well, then for me, it's I think and should Blade Runner win. No, I think and want Blade Runner to win. Shape of Water should. I don't know what category.
Okay.
I think Shape of Water will win to fuck me over. I want and should Blade Runner win.
Okay. All right. Okay. Then we are going to go with Shape of Water. Okay? Phil?
Okay.
Phil's in. Kevin, we're going Shape of Water. I agree, though. Your argument is almost scary enough to make me think maybe they will give it to it. I do think that they're gonna do pretty decently. Blade Runner will. But
I gotta say, when I watched the trailer of Darkest Hour, I don't know if this counts as production design, but when they have him in that fucking room with all the papers going and he's like freaking out, like that was pretty awesome looking. Like I imagine if that counts as production design, like that must have taken a lot of work. That whole intense like speech scene that he goes in there. Again, I didn't see it yet, but
I haven't seen it.
I just saw that whole setup and I'm like, ooh. I want to see this shit. So that movie seems pretty intriguing.
My mom's like a Churchill fangirl, so like she's seen that movie like twice already.
Oh.
And she loves it. She says it's amazing.
Go on, sir.
All right, so we're going to talk about these together because I think that they actually belong together, even though they also should be separate. And I'm going to kind of try to explain my take on the difference of these categories. Phil, if you have a difference of opinion, let me know. Sound editing, sound mixing. It feels like a lot of times if one wins, there will be if one wins one, it will win the other, right? It's not always the case. It can definitely be split, and there will be different reasons for that happening. If you look at the last 5 or 6 years, more often though, it feels like it's coming together. So, is it the exact same? It is. So this year it's the exact same. So for both sound editing and sound mixing, Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, and Star Wars, The Last Jedi. So those are literally a mirror image of each other. Mm-hmm. I believe that we're going to see Dunkirk take both of these. It's pretty much the standout favorite as well, so it's not me going out on a limb. I think there is some argument to say that it's not going to take both, but I really don't think it's possible. For me, it was such a complete through idea, and that sound, like I said, was a character in the movie. The whole thing, if you've seen, did we see it together?
What?
Dunkirk?
No, I have not seen it.
Me and Kevin saw it together? Me and Kevin saw it together, and we saw the 72 millimeter IMAX, which was incredible. And you're just like blown away the entire time because there's very little dialogue in that movie. It is all about the environment, what's happening. The action is often driven by sound. And I think you got to give it to it for both. So what is the difference between sound editing and sound mixing? Sound editing is basically all the things you record and put together. So everything you record on set, anything you do in ADR or Foley. This is basically stuff you do after the movie is recorded.
Make footstep sounds and shit like that.
Make footstep sounds or re-record voice lines, whatever. Sound mixing then takes all those sounds and balances them out throughout the entire film, mixes them to create the feeling that the visuals and the audios both go together and match in some way. I'm going Dunkirk double for both these categories. Phil, interested to hear what you think about it being split and how you feel it's going to pan out.
Yeah, I'm definitely blowing both barrels for Dunkirk. I think it's probably one of the best technical achievements in sound of the last 15, 20 years. Or probably last movie that's that good on sound is probably There Will Be Blood to me. But yeah. I think definitely Dunkirk for both of those. I definitely agree that this is the most unnecessary split category. I think pretty much everything else on there makes sense split, but this one I don't know when you ever see distinction between winners there. I think this should be best.
Oh, you're breaking up a little, Phil. All right, looks like Phil is. We might have lost connection there with good buddy.
We'll get a Phil refresh.
We'll refresh
Hello?
it.
All right.
Hey, bud, you back? There you are.
Hello.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I think the BAFTAs do this one better. I think they just do best sound in general.
Yes.
And they combine it. I think the Oscars ought to go to that because it doesn't really make sense as two categories.
They have changed up this category 8 times. Maybe 5. They did, and they only in the 70s did they start splitting up into these two. But it's a weird thing, and it's just I feel like kind of visual effects. What's happening to visual effects now is that we're looking at these things that are happening in the technology of a piece of cinema. Because film started as a purely visual art form and purely what you captured in camera and what you see. And then they add sound. And so then it becomes what you capture in sound and the score and all, and it just all these things kind of come from that. And this is a category where I think it would benefit from just being sound. It has, in the past couple of years, there have been a couple occasions when it's split, but for the most part, you win one, you win them both.
Yeah, I mean, my only assumption would be that it's clearly two different teams and they want to acknowledge those two different teams in some way. Teams. But should this be done on that day before Oscar thing you were talking about, maybe, where they do the other technicality awards, I guess? But, I haven't seen Dunkirk. It sounds like the sound was phenomenal. I will give the nod
totally
to
insane.
Shape of Water. They had some cool moments, though, like when they did like the clock egg timer ticking to her fapping off in the bathtub and all the timing matching up. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, it's neat when they're able to kind of get everything to have a cool rhythm in sync. But again, I imagine from what I've heard of all you guys praising Dunkirk, probably did have some pretty damn good immersive sound.
Yeah, Shape of Water does a lot with pacing and like the edit you said. Sorry, Phil, I interrupted you though. Go.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say this is the first pair of categories where I think that there's a legitimate snub in a category. I don't know if either of you saw Mother, but that's.
Go on. Yeah, it's what's his name? What's his face? It's like the horror movie, right?
Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, Aronofsky. Yeah.
Yeah, that movie is all sound, and it is like, I mean, it's Cameron sound in a lot of ways. Like, there's some batshit stuff that goes on, but so much of that movie is like, you've never been so scared by someone like scrubbing a pot in a sink. Like, just like the sound of it is just like in your face while she's doing it, and it's just like startling. And all that movie is all these like creakings and noises, and it's like a pure sound film. I think that movie was just really polarizing, so people didn't go for it for these kinds of awards, but definitely deserves to be there over, I don't know, something in there.
I agree with that.
I haven't heard of that. Mother. A couple's relationship is tested when uninvited guests arrive at their home, disrupting their tranquil existence.
Yeah, I think a lot of, like you said, has to do with the polarization of that movie, and people really didn't like it. And other people really thought it was great, but I feel like such a big segment just hated it that it was, people want better from Aronofsky, whatever, and they just ignore it because of the kind of like mixed signals. And that often feels like something that happens with the Oscars. If there's too much controversy around a film, people just are like, we're just not going to even address it because everybody wants to feel like they're voting for the best thing. But I agree. It's interesting to think about that, though. Snubs. All right, so Kev, we're going for Dunkirk on both of those. All right, where are we at? Oh boy, guys.
We're gonna
I'm gonna skip a couple of these here.
These.
All right, I want to talk about editing because it's, I think, really important. Although I haven't seen a lot of these.
Nominations.
Yeah, nominations: Baby Driver, Dunkirk, I, Tonya, The Shape of Water, and the Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Phil, what are your thoughts on editing and these movies?
I think editing goes in line with a couple of other categories as being one of, I would say it's fairly close to makeup as like one of the, there's no way that somebody can lose this category, and it's Dunkirk. I mean, Dunkirk is effectively an exercise in editing. That is, that's what they're going for, is like, these three disparate stories in different time sequences and how to edit them together to make a like taut, like tense narrative, right? It's basically just like, it is just like editing. It's like pure, that's what that movie is. So I think there's no way Dunkirk loses this category, and there's no way it should. I don't think any other movies have anything particularly special in the editing category. Baby Driver's a little flashy, but
yeah, especially apparently the first 17 minutes of that movie, which we had missed the first time we went to go see Baby Driver.
Don't tell anybody.
We went to see Baby Driver at the drive-in theater, but we were late and we missed the whole first part, and then found out later that the whole first part was the best part of the movie, pretty much. Like the whole chase scene, like showing what Baby Driver does and introducing them as criminals and everything. So we like tuned in very late. So maybe a lot of it's towards that early part of the movie, but yeah, again, didn't see Dunkirk, but if they're incorporating like multi-timeline,
it's crazy.
And
area, it's like
that's got to be crazy.
It's one of those things where, in the way like, and I don't want to just compare them to these because they're a like non-linear storytelling and editing, but like in the way like a Memento kind of like took you for a ride with the edit, or there's another one that does the same kind of thing, but it doesn't shove it in your face. It's very elegant in how it weaves these timelines together, and then when you have that aha moment and you understand what's going on, you realize how masterfully they've kind of brought you along the ride. I do think Baby Driver is interesting, but it's, like you said, mostly flashy, and really it's that Edgar Wright style And I don't think it's the best version of that style, first off. So I don't really... I don't think he can do it, but I have heard other people say that they think Baby Driver is going to win. I'm going to look at our odds here. I'm pretty sure, like you said, it's pretty much all in on Dunkirk. God, it's the worst feature. Okay, let's go with Dunkirk. I can't find it on here. Whatever.
There it is. Film editing.
Dunkirk yeah, Dunkirk, incredible favorite. Incredible favorite. Did you see I, Tonya? I think it's interesting that's in there. I guess they're telling a story and it's probably a little out of order or whatever, but...
Yeah, it's got the same, like, it's got a lot of, like, smash cuts and, like, very in-your-face edits and cuts, which, I don't know.
Maybe is that movie, is I, Tonya not featured a lot in other categories and they kind of gave it something here?
It's mostly acting categories.
Okay.
And
yeah, it's like lead actress, supporting actress. Holy guacamole. All right, where are we? Okay, best foreign language film. You got anything? I want to skip that. I haven't seen any of them.
I haven't caught them either, so
skip.
Get out of here, nerds. Best live action short film. I didn't watch any. You into that?
I did not catch them, though. I usually try and catch the live action every year. Usually you can find them at a local art house theater before the Oscars. It's actually a great time. If you've never done it before, you sit down, you watch like 10 short films, like all the animated and all the live action. They're all super good. It's like, it'll be one of the best times you have at the theater.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Yeah, there's a great theater in Chicago that does that. I also very much enjoy doing that. You can honestly usually do it nowadays just on YouTube. There's a great article that was like that Wired just put out that was like, here's where you can watch every single Oscar movie right now, you know. And it was like, it's like digital distribution has changed the way we can take movies in. It's not just the guys with the screeners. You at home can watch it as well. But I agree. If you check out your local theaters, somebody's going to have all the short films animated and live action. You go down, you sit and have a great experience, grab some popcorn and Reese's, have fun. Best documentary short subject. I'm not into that. Best documentary feature.
All right.
My boy over here has got something he wants to say about it.
Well, the nominations are Abacus, Faces, Places, Icarus, Last Men in Aleppo. Sorry if I said that wrong. And Strong Island. I only saw Icarus, and I loved it to death. I don't know if you've seen many of these films, but Icarus was great. It was a good eye-opening documentary. When you're thinking you're going down the road of just, it's a bike racing documentary about doping a little bit, and then it uncovers this whole thing where it's, Russia's been cheating the Olympics for a long-ass time, it seems. It's crazy. I love documentaries that you just suddenly go down this crazy rabbit hole and your mind is just freaking out the whole way. So if I haven't seen any of these other documentaries, but they're in a category with Icarus. I don't know what the odds are, but if they're as good as Icarus, which it seems like one's even better.
Faces, Places.
I guess I got to see these. I got to see these other.
You know anything about those, Phil?
Yeah, so I know Faces, Places, and I know Icarus. So Faces, Places is Agnes Varda. She's like she's like a pretty old documentarian. She does a lot of like very like cinema verite stuff. Her like latest one is like really kind of swept through people. I think it's like most likely gonna win because she's like a lifetime achievement winner this year, most likely, basically.
Okay.
Like she's been making documentaries for like 50 years, and now they're like it's time to pay it off.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
I think she'll win on that kind of like. There's always a few people they try and get the lifetime to. Icarus I thought was really cool though. I mean that movie it definitely has that like exit to the gift shop kind of the Jinx sort of thing where it just like takes you through some crazy
Jinx, which I have started as well. I'm on like episode 4 right now. That's a quite an intriguing journey in itself. Very cool show.
Did you ever see Tim's Vermeer?
Tim's Vermeer, yeah.
What I say, Vermeer? It's Rainier. Yeah. How that?
Tim's Vermeer.
I'm trying to get him to watch that.
I haven't downloaded it.
That movie is like one of my favorite documentaries I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Another one kind of in that vein.
Can't wait to watch it then.
Okay, I mean, I think you're probably right. Faces, Places we can take. It is one of those things they do tend to do at the Academy Awards.
I didn't know that, but fine. Give her dues. I guess that's fair.
She's probably not going to make another
Brian
movie,
Fogel
dude.
will be back, I'm sure, with something else.
Yeah, he's got other
It's a really cool movie. You should check it out.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. It's just like it's very like experiential about people like seeing these like giant works of like art of like individuals plastered in cities and things. And I don't know, it's just like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. She's an interesting filmmaker.
Sounds like it's for smart people.
The next categories are important, and I want to talk about both of them. But I think that it's kind of obvious one of them. I think cinematography is a runaway. Deakins has been nominated and not won for years. The man is a legend in the field. He's a god. I feel like if he doesn't win this year, he might just end it all. But I don't think anybody has a chance against him this year, Phil. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, definitely nobody has a chance against him, and God bless it that it's finally that way. One of the articles I wrote back when I used to write about film for a film website was about the biggest Oscar snubs, and it was basically just an article so I could talk about Roger Deakins and all the times he didn't win. Let's go through movies Deakins has made just like in the last 15, 20 years. Let's see. You go back to Fargo. Where's Fargo at? 96 Fargo should have won. Big Lebowski maybe shot should have won. Or Brother, Where Art Thou? Beautiful Mind.
Obviously, Coen Brothers and him.
Yeah. No Country. Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. That was a gimme. They really messed that one up. Doubt. That movie's gorgeous. True Grit. That's low-key gorgeous. Skyfall. That should have won. Sicario should have won.
Sicario definitely should have won.
Yeah. So there's this man's been robbed so many times. So he's going to win finally. God bless.
Yeah, God bless. God bless Deakins. We're going to take Deakins for cinematography. Original screenplay, adapted screenplay. I just really want to talk about original screenplay. I think it's the only one that's interesting. I think a lot of times movies get just thrown this because they're not going to get Best Picture. They end up winning original screenplay. That is why I think some people believe Get Out is going to take this. After seeing Lady Bird last night, am way more interested in that. But I'm torn. I don't know where I'm at. There's so many good original screenplays. Okay, so The Big Sick, another one people think has definitely got a chance. Get Out, definitely could do it. Lady Bird, amazing movie. Shape of Water, I can't say enough good things about it. 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Big surprises at BAFTAs, won a lot of stuff. I don't know if it's going to do it here, but Phil, where are you at on original screenplay?
Yeah, this is probably the best category this year in terms of competition, right?
It's crazy.
It's the one with the least guaranteed winner. This is also the one where I'm the most split on. So the one I would like to win is The Big Sick. I really love that movie. I thought it was one of the best of the year, and I think that screenplay is just flat out perfect and brilliant. I think romantic comedies are really hard to pull off in an exceptional way, and they did. I think that, so I want that one to win. I think Get Out should win because it's got, I think just it's doing something that's much harder than a lot of other things. It's got very important sense of time and place here in our country and just in the world. And I think 3 Billboards probably will win because my suspicion is that 3 Billboards will do similar to the BAFTAs and will probably run away with the show in a lot of ways. And this will probably be the first category in my mind that it'll win. That'll signal that it's probably going to go for 5 or 6 big, 4 or 5 big categories on Oscar night. So
that's interesting that you're going with 3 Billboards. It's a very controversial movie.
It's already one of the first movies I'm going to watch after this. It's the 3 Billboards thing. I think I was really super intrigued by the trailer when I watched that one. I just wanted to watch that lady just yell at people more and kick people in the balls. It was very intense, very awesome. For this, the only things I could take from it was pretty cool. It's, I guess, for Jordan Peele, this is pretty remarkable. It's his first, this is his first go at Oscars, right? And the dude's in original screenplay, best director, and best picture.
Yeah.
For a black director and screenplay writer and everything. That's fucking amazing. And the movie came out super long ago, last February. I think someone said it was before the last Oscar ceremony.
Oh, really?
And only a couple of movies have actually done that, Aaron Brockovich and Silence of the Lambs.
Where they have the breath to actually
where
make it to the
they
next
have
year.
the staying power to be able to make it all the way until the next Oscars. So that's a pretty huge achievement in itself. I didn't see The Big Sick. I watched the trailer. It seems super awesome, very real. I don't want to pair it like it's super similar to Lady Bird, but it's like it felt very real. Like it's a unique situation that the guy's in. He meets a girl, and it's you feel like when the movie's over, you're like, whoa. I would imagine like you want to know what happens to these people in the future and stuff like that. So I wish I saw that movie as well. But I think with Phil, like Get Out should maybe win this, even though I haven't seen it. And I loved Lady Bird a lot.
Dude, I have an incredible time trying to actually say the words of whether I think it's going to be Get Out, Lady Bird, or Three Billboards. I tend to think that Billboards is not going to take this one, and it's going to go to one of the younger, kind of more. I feel like screenplays often, unlike other categories, are more contemporary in how they. Like, Get Out is not a traditional like Hollywood movie, right? And in no way is it something that I think actually can win Big Picture because of that, or Best Picture because of that. But I definitely think that it can be for screenplay. In the same way that Juno kind of came out and doesn't seem like an Oscar movie when you first see it, and maybe it's just because it's about young teenage girls and I'm drawing this comparison, but Get Out and Lady Bird definitely feel like they hit those numbers. I'm going to go, God, dude, I don't fucking know. I can't even fucking, I feel like I want to say Lady Bird. I was 100% Get Out until I'm like talking it through my head, and I feel like I just want to say Lady Bird now, which would make us completely all have something different the way we think is winning.
I want to say, is no one considering Shape of Water? Is it just like the story felt kind of unoriginal? The fact that it's like sea monster, lady falls in love with him kind of a thing. Is that why it's being looked over? Like when you think about the story,
I don't think it's being looked over. I think it's still in the running, but I think there are plot holes in that movie, and there are problems with the script in some ways that it feels like. I understand why it's not going to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that for people, like the reason why, if you're going to say looking at the Best Picture nominees, if you're going to say for each one, the number one reason why it won't win, The Shape of Water, you would say because of the screenplay. That's probably the weakest part of that movie. Yeah, I would say agree. Like plot holes and some like kind of pat and very rote dialogue that isn't particularly like fresh or anything. So,
and I feel like Lady Bird, you could almost say that a lot of it is weak because it's a bunch of kind of characters we know doing things we've seen before. I just think that the take on it is so good and so clean.
You're really jumping, and sometimes like I've noticed you would jump into mid conversations or mid scenes, and it would just like you wouldn't really question it too much.
No.
So I don't know if that's something you credit to the screenplay, that they're able to kind of throw you in there real quick, but the dialogue just kind of keeps you going, even though you're like, why am I suddenly in the principal's office, or we'll cut to the dance and they're like mid dance and already something's happening and they didn't go to the dance or anything. So
yeah, they don't feel the need to like over exposition.
They just like trim a lot of the fat for you, it feels, and somehow you're just able to get through it real fast, and that's why the movie feels so freaking short. It is short, but it feels super short.
All right, I have no way of actually coming to consensus on this, Kevin. So we're gonna three-way this. Get Out, Lady Bird, Three Billboards. I don't know what else to say. I feel like it's definitely one of the most competitive categories. Adapted screenplay, whatever.
I think it's cool they gave Logan a nod. It's
Logan got a
it's
nod.
a comic
That's cool.
movie, and they're giving Logan the nod.
Cool to get a nomination.
Animated short. Who cares? Sorry. Didn't see them.
Sorry.
Animated feature.
Do you want to talk about this?
Dear Basketball. That's Kobe's category.
Really?
Oh yeah, Kobe Bryant.
Oh.
Kobe Bryant's going to be an Oscar winner.
Holy
Do you think
cow.
he'll win it? Have you seen the others too?
I've only seen Dear Basketball when it came out. I don't know the others at all, but I presume Kobe's going to win because nobody else has probably watched. Like the voters probably didn't watch most of them. They probably want Kobe to get on stage so they can get more buzz for their industry, you know. And
that is
this guy in the back.
That's a good argument. Okay, we'll take Dear Basketball for the animated short. Kobe. Animated.
Put it in the books.
Easy, dog.
Animated feature, I want to say, like, and I saw someone bring up, and I'm like, oh yeah, and unfortunately, it couldn't be considered for this category. Is Your Name?
What the fuck?
Because technically, I guess it's a 2016 film,
but it only got released in the U.S.
Yeah, but I guess they don't consider.
Do you feel it was snubbed? I know you saw this movie. I believe you liked this movie. Mm-hmm. I was a little upset. I feel like they could make an exception. Yes. Why isn't it in this?
Yeah, I mean, those are just technicalities in the rules. It should have, like, because of when its actual release was, it should have been, it had a theatrical release, though not domestic in the U.S. in 2016. So that would qualify for 2016, but because it didn't get a domestic release, that means it only qualifies as a foreign language submission by Japan. Japan didn't submit it as a foreign language, so it misses the boat on its ability to be in the Oscars. But I would agree. I had it, I think, 14th last year for me, which is like pretty high for all my movies. I liked it a lot. It probably would win this category for me if it were in it, but it's not.
I just say it's a bummer that there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna possibly miss out on that movie altogether because it's not gonna get any sort of recognition in any of these award shows at all. But for the few people who are listening to this, if you haven't seen Your Name, I highly recommend it. I watched it on a plane and I bawled on the plane.
Yeah,
so
you did.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to. I welled up. I didn't cry during this one. Ken told me I was definitely gonna cry, but I didn't. It is. Yeah.
He probably overhyped it.
Okay, I mean Coco is gonna fucking win this. It's a stupid category this year.
Yeah.
Director. We got Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, Jordan Peele for Get Out, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson, Phantom Thread, Shape of Water, Mr. Guillermo del Toro. Big powerhouses, also some new faces.
Yeah.
What I love to see in Best Director is fresh new faces and just legends battling it out.
Yeah, it's so fucking stacked. I assume fresh faces you're meaning Jordan Peele and Del Toro.
No, Greta Gerwig.
Oh, Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's young, dude. She's actor turned director and is like Jordan. This is kind of like her first big breakout thing. I for me think Guillermo has got this. I think this is one of the things where the old dog is getting the pat on the shoulder for being a guy who has consistently put out work that is auteur status. It's his style. It is Guillermo when you see it. And this is his big push in all the award ceremonies. And he's taken it from the majority of the award shows as Best Director. I'm going with him. I don't know if anybody can beat it. I think Greta Gerwig has a dark horse chance because of a lot of the social climate that's going on. I do think that plays into the Oscars. And that movie is very it's a female-forward movie, and a female director and a female lead talking about teenage girl issues in a way that's very relatable. Sacramento, New York.
Greatest city ever. Sacramento, man, that's my home turf. I am a Sacramento man who went to New York. I am the Man Eagle.
Man Eagle.
Not Lady Bird. I am Man Eagle. But
where are you at, Phil? Best Director.
Yeah, I think this one's in the bag for Del Toro. It's one of the ones where I have the three-way split, so I would like Jordan Peele to win. For his first directing performance. I think that would be cool for that movie. I think that Paul Thomas Anderson should win. He's the best director in the world right now, and every movie he makes everybody else look like an amateur. Phantom Thread's no exception there. And I think that Guillermo del Toro will win, though I'm perfectly happy for him to win. I like him a lot as a director. I think that Shape of Water is a really great movie. I think it definitely broke my top 5 this year. Number 5 exactly. So I was really happy, not displeased with it winning it all. So I'm chill with that. It's a good category this year.
We don't get to hear your top 5 at the end of the show. I'm very curious to hear your top 5 of this year so far. That'd be cool.
He's got it on his list. So wait, do you have a pick on this?
I mean, I already mentioned Jordan Peele. It's already what an achievement to already get so many nominations for your first go around. Will they give it to him for the first go around? That seems a little too good to be true. So I didn't see Phantom Thread, but judging on Phil's praise for it, I think they would give it to someone like that over maybe some of these young bucks who are coming in with monster films that are already respectable in their own right. Those performances, those directions were already great. I don't know. I think the Oscars are going to be like, that's great, but we'll acknowledge some of the old dogs on this one.
You got to be here for a little longer.
Yeah, you got to get a couple more. We love what we're seeing, so we'll give you the nomination, but get some more out.
Yeah, the nod is acknowledging them as somebody who has a vision and somebody who has a voice that is being heard and that is resonating with people, not only in the industry but in the general community of people that watch movies. Yeah. Guillermo del Toro, Best Director. Do you think Greta has any chance at all? Am I totally off base with my dark horse pick there?
I mean, in terms of like odds, it's not a super locked in. So if you want to take a long shot, she's a decent long shot for betting. If you want to put down $10 to try and make some cash, but I think that one's pretty much locked up as Guillermo.
Yeah, I agree.
But it'll be the 4th straight year, I think, for a Mexican director to win. I think Inarritu won, and then Cuarón, and then Inarritu, and now it would be Del Toro.
Yeah, Gravity, Revenant. What is the other one?
Birdman.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Yeah, those guys together. I love whenever they have those three. They go out to dinner together, and it's like you're just fucking gods. You know,
yeah.
they always
And they're
post it
also
on their
different.
Twitter. Pardon me?
They're also different and well in what they do.
Oh, that's what's so cool, right? Like their voices are so strong, and you can see them like all their influence, but they play off each other. I don't know. Very cool. Let's get into what would be probably the most hype categories. I think it starts as soon as you hit Best Director, right? It's like, okay, we're into the big boy shit.
Yep.
And we've been going for a while, so we're going to try to bum rush through these. Supporting Actress, Mary J. Blige, Mudbound. Allison, Janney, I, Tonya. Leslie Manville, Phantom Thread. Laurie Metcalf, Lady Bird. Octavia Spencer, The Shape of Water.
Laurie Metcalf, that's the mom in Lady Bird, I assume?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then I would assume Allison Janney is the mom in I, Tanya?
Correct. This is the mom category.
Which is
Mary J. Blige
it's a
is
good
also a
category, you know? We all
Mary
have
J.
moms.
Blige is a mom. Octavia Spencer is a friend. She's not a mom. She's a wife. That counts.
Yeah, she's like a mom substitute.
Oh, she's great in that movie,
She's
too. now I
so
think
good
about it.
in that
She's
movie.
really good in that movie.
I'm thinking maybe it's because it's so fresh. Laurie Metcalf is unbelievable in Lady Bird and how she is playing essentially two people at once and makes you think of just, I don't know, she made me think of my mom in many ways.
I thought when she was like lecturing her about when she like closed in the room and is like, your dad just lost his job and like was going into her, I'm like, my mom's yelling at me right now.
Oh my god.
It was crazy. Very good.
I like her and Octavia Spencer. Those are my two for this. My two leaders. I would it's a want to win, think will win. I'm not sure. I want Laurie Metcalf to win. Where are you at, Phil?
I want Leslie Manville to win for Phantom Thread. I think she puts in the most like fun performance of the year by just about anybody. Yeah, like you guys have to see Phantom Thread. Movie's so good. And Leslie Manville, like she just rocks it. She plays like a very like uptight sister, kind of some weird like Oedipus-y kind of stuff going on there. And I think Laurie Metcalf should win it. I think she probably had the best performance of the year, maybe like just in general, probably one of the 2 or 3 best performances all around of the year.
It was incredible.
Yeah. And then I think Allison Janney will win it. I think she's won pretty much everything along the award circuit thus far this year. So I don't think anybody else has a chance, really.
She is the odds favorite. Vegas is giving her the bet. She's been sweeping the award ceremonies this year. Probably going to be hard to beat her. You don't often see somebody do that well, and at the last moment, Control Zero, you nerd, gets what would essentially feel like, I don't like if you switch it up at the last moment like that, it's basically saying no, everybody else is wrong and we're right. And there has to be a reason for that, and I don't think there is for this one. So I'm with you. I want Metcalf to win. I think Allison will. So we can take Allison as what we think will win. But I would also I'd put money on Miss Lady Bird as well. Okay, supporting actor William Dafoe, The Florida Project. Woody Harrelson, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Richard Jenkins, In the Shape of Water. Christopher Plummer, All of the Money in the World. Sam Rockwell, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. 2 guys, same movie, same category.
I will say, I think this is like one of the only recognitions that The Florida Project gets, and I haven't seen it. Saw the trailer, I was intrigued. Dafoe apparently gives a really good performance in this movie, and some people are saying he has potential to take it. It's a very real role supposedly for him, which is a bit different when we see him as like the bad guy who fucking dies every movie or is evil or something. So that's cool. I definitely want to see it. I don't think Richard Jenkins would win this for Shape of Water, but if he does lose, can I give him a hug? Because I love that man a lot. He's like my dad.
Dude, he's
just like such a nice man that he's going to be like, oh well. And I'm like, dude, Jenkins, it's okay, man. He just, I don't want to see him sad ever.
God, yeah, and he's been around so long. You almost feel like they could slip it to him because it's not. I don't think for me there's anything hyper standout. But I haven't seen some of these movies. But I also haven't heard a lot of buzz about any of the performances as much. But Richard Jenkins is such a lovable guy in that movie and such a grounding character for the entire film. But I have a hard time throwing any opinions around because I haven't seen enough. Phil, what do you think about this? Do you have any take?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sam Rockwell's probably going to win. I think that's unfortunate. I don't really like his performance, and I'm not a fan of that movie writ large. I think there are good performances in it, but I don't think that his is one of his best. I think Willem Dafoe should win, and I would like him to win. I think he's amazing in the Florida Project.
Oh, so you did see it?
Oh yeah,
that was good. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's really, really good, and he's amazing. All of his scenes are the standout moments in that movie, and he kind of is the connective tissue. I think that this is one where Sam Rockwell is going to win. I don't think Woody Harrelson's really taking any votes from him, but if the Academy, because there is the 3 Billboards backlash going on right now, there's a lot of like think pieces out there about 3 Billboards and whether or not it's good or bad. And I think if you think that the Best Picture might slip away from 3 Billboards, this is the category where you would see it show, would be if somehow Willem Dafoe upsets Sam Rockwell. Because if it loses Best Original Screenplay, you're not really going to be able to tell, because that was a close category to begin with. But if somehow it loses Supporting Actor, then I think like if you're hedging that it'll lose Best Picture, that's maybe a good like combo bet if you want to do a little parlay or something. That's a good hedge against 3 Billboards, would be anyone but Sam Rockwell winning, plus like Shape of Water or something for Best Picture. Might get you a nice little...
Yeah, it's interesting, the whole Billboards controversy. So it's going around award season. It's kind of like in the middle of the pack for a lot of stuff. BAFTAs, it just blows everybody out of the water. It's a big surprise, wins all these awards. And then, like you said, all these opinion pieces start coming out about the movie, and now it's so hyper-controversial that I'm so interested to see how it's going to perform, because I do feel like the culture around it is going to sway how people vote. But it's also, they do a preferential ballot, which is also going to impact, because I think a lot of people will end up putting it in the second position because they don't want to put it in the first, because they fall on one side of the hat or whatever with how it feels. And that is why might win a lot more this year. But I'm having a hard time taking this one. And I want to look at the odds for a second to just see what, oh, God fucking damn it.
Best Supporting Actor. So
Sam Rockwell, yeah.
And then Dafoe at second runner right there.
Okay, so, should we take the Dafoe just because you don't like Rockwell's performance, Phil? I feel like we should just do that.
I mean, I think if we're picking who we think's going to win, Rockwell is certainly the odds-on favorite. I don't know, if we're trying to give the people the winners, that's Sam Rockwell's the winner at this category, most likely.
Sam Rockwell.
That's just reality.
All right, lead actress, Sally Hawkins, The God, Shape of Water. Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I've heard nothing but amazing things about that. Margot Robbie, I, Tonya. Saoirse Ronan, I cannot say her. How do you say her first name?
You got it, Cersei.
I got Saoirse, something. Ronan, she's incredible in Lady Bird. Meryl Streep in The Post.
This is such a monster category, because as I go through this, I'm like, okay, Sally Hawkins, she had to do that pretty much as a mute, which is fucking crazy as an actress. The one monster scene where she had to talk to Jenkins and tell him how important it was, and that was just super intense for
that's
an
probably
actress.
Like your favorite scene.
That was like amazing. One of the best moments I've seen is from an acting performance personally. Didn't see 3 Billboards, but based on the trailer, that lady looks like she puts on a hell of a show, and
she's like pissed off.
Yeah,
right?
I'm like, God damn, that's like something you cannot see any normal woman be able to play. So that was super intriguing. Tanya, I mean, she has to play a real woman. It's based on real events and real stories, so that's always a challenge for an actress, I imagine. And Lady Bird, I mean, the tricky thing with doing movies where it's just really real, and this is just a real family, it could feel fake real quick. And it didn't feel fake to me at all. Like, it felt like she was genuinely a bit of a loose cannon, angsty teenager, and it felt real. So this is a hard one for me, just based on acting performances of the ones I've seen here. I don't know where the Academy really favors any of those kind of things, though.
I think the Academy probably favors Meryl Streep because...
Oh, and then you have Meryl Streep, who wins everything ever and has won more Academy Awards than anyone else on the planet, it seems. So that's like the other huge monster. And it's like, I feel like that woman's like, will I get an Academy Award if I do this?
Yeah, but I don't think she'll win just because of that. Even though they do favor her a lot. Phil, I think you're probably gonna go with Frances here, is my guess. But what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I want to see the show where Dakota just doesn't watch any of the movies, and he just watches you just have him watch all the trailers for the movies, and then he picks the winners based exclusively on trailers.
What do you think's happening right now?
That's my favorite, when he's like, I didn't see 3 Billboards, but Frances McDormand looks like an intense lady from the 35 seconds I saw.
I mean, it was enough for me to go like, I kind of want to see this movie. This woman's out for an obvious vendetta. I mean, I remember her distinctly kicking multiple men and women in the balls at one point. I was just like, Jesus Christ. So when I see that, I'm obviously deferring to you, who've seen the movie, to tell me whether or not she's that good.
Yeah, she's gonna win. I think she probably should win. I'm not a big fan of the movie, but I think that she's the best part of it. So I think,
as she often tends to be in movies. Burn After Reading. What? Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Lead actor, Timothy. I can't say this guy's name either. Chalamet. Sure. Call Me by Your Name. Also featuring the kid from Lady Bird. Daniel Day-Lewis, Phantom Thread. Daniel. God damn it. Daniel. Kaluuya.
Kaluuya.
Not
Kaluuya.
Fuck me. Get Out. Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour. Denzel Washington.
Let's just throw that name in there.
Roman J. Israel, Esquire.
Ooh, another monster crazy-ass category. I didn't see Call Me By Your Name. I'm assuming you saw it, right, Phil? Did you see Call Me By Your Name? I'm really curious how that film is, because you know me, trailer guy here. I did watch the trailer on it, and I couldn't help but feel like, is this like a new Brokeback Mountain? Like, what's making this movie feel so special? I'm seeing these two guys, and they got a unique relationship building up, and then it's like Best Picture. So you don't have to go too far into the movie to like spoil anything, but
do we see Dick in the movie?
Fine question. You'll have to find out for yourself. It's just like a really beautiful romance. Probably one of the just like sweetest romantic films in a while. Not really. I don't think it's really. It's kind of special in the fact that it's not so much about kind of like being gay so much. It's just kind of played straight as a romance in a time frame. It doesn't worry about all the political implications side of stuff in the way you might think of Brokeback, which is like a much more like political movie and kind of how it thinks about the relationship. And Timothy Chalamet is really, really good. If you want to talk about something that'll make you cry, like the last like 5 minutes of that movie, and it's like pretty intense, and you'll probably like be weeping if you're a crier. So it'll get you good. It's heavy. It'll thrash you. So he's good. I think Oldman's obviously going to win this one. This is like one of the no contest categories. I think Daniel Day-Lewis should win this category because, again, he's the best actor in the world, and the movie he's in this year is really, really good, and he does a great job in it. But I also forgot, Best Actress is actually, that movie is robbed. So the winner there is robbed. The winner of that should be Vicky Krieps, who is who's the actress from Phantom Thread. She didn't even get nominated, which is some bullshit. But you watch that movie,
Phantom Thread got nominated.
It's actually her movie, and she should have been nominated. She should also win that category. So that's side tangent. But Gary Oldman's going to win this category, and fuck the police.
I like your snub picks. I think they're important to recognize, and it's easy to just forget how good of a job somebody did sometimes.
Daniel Day-Lewis and Gary Oldman, these guys are gods with their work and their character play. I just read something that, Daniel Day-Lewis, when he did Lincoln, had that, they had everybody on the set call him Mr. President. He's a very, very serious method actor. And hearing that stuff reminded me of Jim and Andy.
Oh yeah.
When Jim Carrey did
the documentary, yeah.
Andy Kaufman. Like, he's an incredibly serious method actor where he was just like in the zone. Apparently his preparations for Lincoln, like he only had people with American accents around him the whole time to take it in. So he took like a year off before filming to like take all that stuff in. So I'd be curious to read his preparations for the Phantom Thread, if he had to become like I learned how to be a cobbler and seamstress and shit like that in a couple of years.
Built a time machine, did some shit. So. Hey, Phil, I think it's interesting that you bring up Gary Oldman as a standout favorite, because I don't think he is, even though he is, if that makes sense. I do think that the controversy around him and some of the allegations that have been made recently are going to impact his votes. He had some sexual misconduct stuff against him, and I think that can fuck you over at the Oscars, where it is a lot more political. and takes in that stuff into account. I don't know if it's going to be enough, though, because sometimes, people just don't care, and he's so incredible in this movie from everything I've heard. Do you think it'll impact it at all? I mean, I guess you don't, but...
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I think there's been a lot of like Time's Up sexual assault stuff going on, and I think his sort of stuff has been kind of played down low key as, you know, people like he tried to stay out in front of it. I think wearing like a Time's Up pin or something along those lines, and people, you know, on Twitter in the Twitterverse kind of got on him about allegations from his past from 15, 20 years ago. And it doesn't seem like it's really gathered as much steam as some of the other allegations in terms of like tanking somebody's chances. It hasn't really been top of mind. People just keep talking about him in a fat suit. So I think he's going to win.
Nutty Professor, right? This is what we're talking about? This is Eddie Murphy? Okay.
Guys, where's James Franco in this category?
Okay.
Disaster artist.
Disaster artist? I don't. He won at, where did he win? Did he win at the Golden Globes?
He won for comedy at the Golden Globes. This is a good point, though. I actually think that this is where I think there should be either an additional category or an exclusion in the category. So the Oscars seem to be saved for themselves, and it's way too common to just give the best like acting categories to people playing real life famous figures. It's like just like an easy way to go for your Oscar as an actor. So I think that real life performances should be barred from winning best actor, because it should be the best impersonation category or just be not allowed at all. Because I don't think that you can compare what someone like what he's doing with someone who has to create like a unique character and give someone life that you have no experience with before or after. You have to create this thing from scratch, and that feels lived in 2 hours. And I think when you're impersonating someone, which is what James Franco is doing, is like an elaborate 2-hour SNL skit in a movie, I think is pretty good. But that's like a different kind of thing you're going for, and it relies much more on what people's experiences are and expectations are of the person than your actual like performance of dramatic material.
How well did you represent them versus how well did you actually create something and represent that? That's a big difference.
There's definitely a lot of challenges in both. I didn't catch the Disaster Artist yet. I heard from people that his brother was actually one of the breakout stars of that movie, though.
He's supposed to be really good. I didn't see it. I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, I didn't see it because, like you said, it looked like just a giant SNL skit, and it just was, I don't know. Whatever. Guys, we're at the Big Daddy. Woo! We're almost... this show is almost as long as the Oscars itself, so let's get it done with. Best Picture, insane category this year. Maybe one of the most competitive we've seen in a really long time. Here we go. From the top.
Boom.
Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
So that's 9, but it could have been up to 10.
Could have been 10.
If it was 10, guys, who would have been that number 10? I could go off what I've heard, but
I don't know. What you heard? What you heard?
I heard from a couple of sources that they felt The Big Sick maybe should have been a number 10 on this. I know Phil had seen it.
Phil probably agrees with that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay. I'm not really sure what
I
else.
think like it's a romantic comedy, right, Phil? I think like you said, it's very difficult for something like that to be elevated in the film genre, to like look at it so critically and say, yes, this is so standout, we're going to give it the Best Picture. But
is there a chance maybe they felt it was too similar to something like Lady Bird in the same category?
I think there's no way it's going to win. Like at one point you got to there is possibilities for there's like a reason that every one of these movies could win. I don't know if there's a reason for The Big Sick that
I guess it's just, I don't know how much they get from being just a nomination, if they should just give them a nomination just so they could take that nomination with them to their future projects. I'm not too sure, but you're probably right. Like, even if it would have been crept in, it's not like it maybe had a strong polling chance to even be the big one. So how do we frame this down? Should we like pick 3 of the strong frontrunners of this or something?
I'll start.
Okay.
I think for me, this is between... and a lot of this, I think, has to do with the way the voting system works, which I'll explain in a second. I already did a little bit. I think it's the top 4. It's hard to just say 3, so I think top 4 is Get Out, Lady Bird, Shape of Water, Billboards Outside Ebbing. I think that when I try to break down who's going to win, I'm actually trying to think of who is going to be voted for second place by most people. Because I think the issue with... So it's preferential voting, which is like you do your tops and they take, whoever... some fucking like combination of what you do. I think Shape of Water is going to end up on more people's number 2 than any of these movies. Just because of how... I don't think Three Billboards going to do it because of how split people are about it and the controversy around it recently. I don't think that the Academy itself is, not to say like with it enough, but like gonna give something like Get Out the first place. I think it's gonna get a lot of. I think some people will say number 1, but everybody else is gonna put it number like 4 or 3. And I think Lady Bird is really tight in there and could totally do it because so many people love this movie. But I really feel like Shape of Water is got to be top 1, top 2, top 3 for more people than any one of these movies. And I'm going to give it to Shape of Water. That's me. Phil?
Yeah, I go in the same direction. I think that the way that the Academy votes is beneficial to The Shape of Water in many ways. The controversy of Three Billboards hurts it because it'll probably be off of the list of... I think Shape of Water is probably on like 95% of ballots in the top 3. Three Billboards is probably going to only end up on like 80% of ballots at all. So there's definitely a hit it takes there. So I think Shape of Water is the likely winner, though I think that this is one of the ones where I think the category is split enough that there's a chance something like Get Out slips in. Of all the long odds options on the board across all the categories, I think Get Out at like plus 2,000 on the money line is going to be like your best value bet for anything. I think if I were betting on Oscar night, I would probably put money on Get Out for Best Picture, and then I would probably do a giant parlay of a bunch of the locked in winners, like 5 or 6 of them, for along with Three Billboards Best Original Screenplay to try and get like 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 odds. I think you can probably get on a big parlay like that, and have those be like hedges against each other. So that's the play I would. That's probably smart play. Yeah, if you're a bet man.
So, and I think it's interesting. You think that Get Out edges Lady Bird out in the kind of value pick for a movie that probably won't win, but could. But it could be the surprise guy.
Dark horse, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, I think that Academy voters, are a big part of it as well. The Academy voters, like you said, tend to be like, even though they've made a lot of changes recently, they tend to be older white guys. I think that for most of them, like especially with Moonlight winning last year and kind of the big upset, there's a lot to the idea that they still feel a lot of pressure about making the Oscars feel like bigger and more inclusive. And I think old white guys tend to look right past ladies and straight on to like minority groups as people to be trying to like elevate onto stage. Yeah. And I don't think that Lady Bird will get the same saliency if it gets any legs, but I think Get Out will. I think Lady Bird's like big in the reviewer, like in the film critic community, but Get Out will probably get more like, this is what we want to celebrate as the Oscars movie kind of hype for some of the voters. So to me, I think it's a better value bet and maybe more likely to sneak in. Though I think Shape of Water will win. I think Three Billboards in terms of betting is a bad value because
terrible.
You're not getting a good return on something that is far from a shoo-in.
It's the favorite in a lot of these Vegas polls, and I don't think that's correct. And I think you're going to get fucking just stiffed if you put money on them.
It's definitely got a good chance of winning. Probably like somewhere between like 30-40% chance of winning. But
yeah, I was in for Billboards before. When we originally were talking about our bettings, I was saying Ebbing's got a really good chance to win, and the more the closer we've gotten to the award show, the less I think that's true. Do you have a favorite here, young man?
Probably Shape of Water. I feel like it's more of a complete package. It really seems like it caters to the whole Academy Awards and kind of just that era. But it would be crazy to see Get Out win this for Jordan Peele, for a horror, for just something totally new to shake things up. I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean, I was seeing Three Billboards as a heavy favorite here, and it got me incredibly intrigued to watch it. So I'm a bit surprised to hear Phil and a lot of the controversy say that it's potentially not going to be a strong front runner. So maybe really want to see it, but I would lean towards Shape of Water.
Yep. So Best Picture, movie buffs putting our money on Shape of Water, but if you want to bet, you take Phil's bet, you go with Get Out, do some fun things with it. Or me, I think the money bet is Lady Bird. It's interesting. Yeah, they're both for almost the same reasons. I hope that the Academy can come around and start recognizing women in a way that is kind of in trend with the culture of, Me Too and the everything that's going on right now. But it'll be interesting. I think it's a great Oscar year overall, though. I'm excited to watch. It doesn't feel like anything is going to run away with this show. It could go a lot of different ways, but a good year. Phil, overall, 2017, how was it for you in movies?
A lot of really good movies. I don't think a lot of great movies. For me, seeing Phantom Thread kind of after, I didn't see it till early January, but for me, that movie was one of the best of the year. I would say, like, to me, Get Out and Phantom Thread are probably the two most impactful movies I saw this year, with the former being like very prescient for the time and the latter being just like an incredible piece of cinema. Overall, I thought there were just like tons of good movies. I think I had, probably about 20 movies I saw this year. 20 to 25 movies I saw this year were movies I thought were like pretty damn good to great, which is a lot more than most years. So a great movie for watching movies. Maybe not a historic year though. We're not going to look back on it like the No Country for Old Men year.
Yeah. I think it gave us stuff that, for me, it gave me Shape of Water, and that's a movie I'll probably watch 100 times, and that makes it a great year. But I agree with you that I felt like there were so many movies this year, and so many really good movies, but not like a ton of juggernaut movies that will be remembered for a very long time and be talked about for a very long time. Just a lot of really, really good movies. How about you? You enjoy 2017?
I thought it was pretty good. I'm curious for Phil on for 2018 so far, the best picture you may have seen, and prediction for 2018 as a year, if you think it's going to be similar to 2017, if it's going to be better, if it's going to be worse as far as the movie horizon goes.
It's a good question. I think you've got a few big hitting directors kind of coming out with stuff this year that you didn't. This was kind of a down year for big name directors putting stuff out. Not a whole lot really did. It's kind of an off year for a lot of folks. So it'll be interesting from that standpoint. I've only actually seen Black Panther of new releases this year. I mean, it's kind of like the doldrum season still. I want to go catch Annihilation, but I like Black Panther. Thought it was good. But I don't know. I don't think it's hard to judge a movie year until you get some of the kind of award. You start getting like the Sundances going, and you see what the new crop coming out is going to be of indies and stuff. It's always the things that you can't track ahead of time that make the year greater.
Yeah,
greater, not
the things that they aren't marketing for right now. They don't have the budget for it because they're spending on making the movie. That's the stuff that's going to make the year worth it and special. And I'm excited. I think it'll be a good year. I'm really excited. Obviously, watching more movies with you has been great and made me more into it.
Yeah, I'm super into movies now.
We'll be watching the Oscars together, though. Phil, thank you so much. I think we're about wrapping it up here.
Yeah,
I just want to remind everybody, check out Phil's blog. You want to go read a nerd talk about some movie shit? It's letterboxd.com/PhilipAram. And you can just go to his Twitter, and he links it there. I think right now your pinned story is even your top movies of 2017, all ranked, which is intense. We should probably do something like that. Yeah. I don't know. This is fun though. This is I'm excited to go now and go bet on all these. I'm ready to go throw my money down now that I have all Phil's input.
I normally wouldn't be super into checking out the awards, but now after we've gotten to go through them all, I'm going to be curious to know all the results and see
how
they end up placing.
Are you actually going to watch, Phil, or are you just going to look the next day and see what won?
I don't usually watch the Oscars, mostly because I think I'm almost always overseas. So watching the Oscars is like pretty impossible.
Yeah.
I'll be in Bucharest, so the odds that I'm able to catch it are pretty low. But yeah, I'll definitely, I'll be checking first thing on my Twitter in the morning to see how things went down.
All right, Phil, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I hope we can have you again in the future. For movie buff fans out there, we're going to be back for another movie buffed episode next Friday, where we're going to be covering Annihilation. Originally, we were going to be doing Annihilation on Monday, but we're going to be heading out of town for another project, and we'll be back on that Friday to talk about the new movie Annihilation with Natalie Portman. Should be an awesome time. Tomorrow, myself and Ken Chen are going to be here bright and early at 9 a.m. local time to start waiting around for the frickin' patch to come out in Dota 2. And then that will finally round out our long week of podcasts. Continue to please support the BTS podcast by following us on our Twitter at BTS Pods. Also, please come into our Discord. We're chatting about all sorts of shit, all the varieties of games, Dota, FGC, and talking about movies and movie buffed. Hit us up in our Discord at discord.gg/BTS. And last little plug, all the merch at the front of the table right there. You can go over to our designbyhumans.com section for Beyond the Summit. Might be able to get that link up, I'm not too sure. But you can support us by getting a Hot Cock shirt or some of our BTS gear, and it would be great. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next podcast.
Thanks,
care.
Phil.
Bye.